Hey there people, how you doing? So, today we have the complete comparison between the Galaxy S20 Plus and the iPhone 12. Now, of course, for those who do not want an Android phone and just love iPhones for what they are, and they want to stick around in the Apple ecosystem, for them, it's an easy choice. The iPhone is the way to go. But for those who are against iPhones and do not like them, they do not like iOS, or for any other reasons, for them the S20 Plus, or rather any other Android phone on the planet, is the way to go. But what about those who are kind of stuck in between? And they want to decide between, say, the Galaxy S20 Plus and the iPhone 12. Which one should they go for? And they don't have any particular affinities towards either of these, so just technically and feature-wise and to some extent preference-wise, which one of these will suit better for them? That is a question that I hope I can answer, so let's get started. Let's kick things off first and foremost with the design, because I think that these two phones in particular, they share a lot in common, especially the glossy finish. And well, I'm personally not a fan of glossy finishes, and well, I do have the black glossy iPhone. It's a fingerprint magnet. The S20 Plus, being a lighter color, it doesn't take as many fingerprints, or at least they're not that much visible. But yeah, glossy finishes, not exactly my preference. But that is something that they share, so it's a tie in that regard. And well, the rest of the phones, they're quite a bit different. Because the iPhone, this time around at least, I do think it looks a lot more unique. Because most phones nowadays go for these curved and rounded edges as such. I think Samsung has the best balance for the forward curves that we've got. It strikes the perfect balance in my opinion. But the iPhone, it's completely flat. There's not even the curved glass, and well, that could be nice for some, not so much for others. So for me, I like this rectangular feel mainly because I'm always a form over function guy, and I don't care if it's comfortable or not, as long as it looks unique and amazing as such, which it does. But if I had to pick one comfortable phone, it would be the S20 Plus, because it doesn't feel as sharp when I'm holding it in my hands. The edges on the iPhone, they do. So if that is a deal breaker, although I don't presume it's gonna be, but if it is, then there you go, that's your answer. I do think the S20 Plus is just a little bit more comfortable to hold, even though it is a bigger phone. So now let's switch over to the front of the device. I do think the Samsung easily takes a win here, because clearly the notch design on the iPhone, it was a cool innovation as such, if you want to call it that, but it's old. And the fact that Apple has Face ID, and that's another story entirely, but because of Face ID, and even though it's amazing, it's still a problematic situation, because with Face ID you need to keep the notch. There's no such problem on the Samsung, because with an in-display fingerprint scanner, you don't have to have anything that's impeding a display other than the small, tiny punch-hole camera cutout on this S20 Plus, and the screen design as such looks a lot better in my opinion because of the lack of a ginormous notch, and also the bezels are thinner on the S20 Plus, which once again gives the Samsung that much more of an edge. So yeah, overall design, I want to hand it to the S20 Plus, I think, because even the camera modules a little bit more protruded on the S20 Plus, not a huge difference, but yeah, that's I think the only pro in terms of the iPhone. But other than that, the S20 Plus easily takes a win when it comes to design. So what about the display? Because design, it can only convince you so much, right? The display is what you're going to be looking at all day, and it's better on the S20 Plus because it has high refresh rate. The iPhone does not, and because of that, quite simply, I'm just going to hand the win to the S20 Plus. But there are other things as well, I'll talk right now. The content consumption side of things, it's a little different. It depends on your preferences. Because the iPhone, it gives basically a less saturated and less contrasty look to whatever you're watching, whether it's a video on YouTube or Netflix or something else entirely. It's always going to be a more neutral look on the iPhone's display, and some people like it, others don't, and it's up to you. I'm not gonna give any verdict on this. The S20 Plus, it'll give you more vibrant colors. Again, some people like it, some don't. So from that regard, just choose whichever one you prefer. But simply because of the presence of high refresh rate, 120Hz on this device, the S20 Plus, it's a very obvious choice for me. when it comes to displays. Resolution wise, both of these are at 1080p, and that's at 120Hz on the S20 Plus. But if for some reason you want to run 60Hz on the S20 Plus, then you can go up to 1440p. But trust me, it doesn't make enough of a difference to sacrifice the refresh rate. That much has been made perfectly clear to me, at least. So again, display is a win for the Samsung, right? So design slightly better, display easily much better on the Samsung. Quite a lead if you ask me. So let's talk about performance and battery life. Now battery, well, it's alright on the S20 Plus. I said this in the review as well, but fact of the matter is, the S20 Plus with its Exynos chipset and its lower efficiency, kind of battery drain this one's got, it's not gonna be the most impressive. The iPhone, on the other hand, amazing battery life, because think of it like this. You have 1080p, fairly low res. I mean, it's not problematic, but you do get a lot of good battery efficiency. And then you have 60Hz, again, amazing efficiency. And then you have the 5nm A14 Bionic, which is insanely efficient. And you put all of those together and you get just unbelievably good battery life. At least like in the over a month that I've used this phone, not once has it died on me, and every single day I've got around 6 hours or more of screen on time. That was not possible on the S20 Plus, so easily in my books, the battery is gonna be better on the iPhone. If that is at all a concern for you and you need 6 hours or more screen on time on one charge and that's a compulsion for you, the iPhone is the way to go. No questions asked. Now performance. The Exynos version here with the Exynos 990 chipset, it's not good. Once again, the performance, it's not impacted me as much, but if you want to play games on your smartphone with, you know, the crazier 3D games, yeah, expect much more frame dips on the S20 Plus. The iPhone, obviously, is the most powerful smartphone on the planet. It's obviously gonna have incredible performance, to say the least. And basically, the iPhone is once again gonna win in performance. So, performance and battery life, if those are your requirements and you need a powerful smartphone, you need a super efficient smartphone, the iPhone is gonna impress you. So now, let's talk about the cameras, because I do believe that that is much more of a breaking point when it comes to deciding between two phones, especially between two phones like these, because on one hand you have better design and quite a bit better display on the S20 Plus versus much better performance and battery life on the iPhone. So, you know, it's a tie till now. So I think the tiebreaker is gonna be the cameras, and that is, it's a close call. Let's call it that way. So the iPhone, I think that the iPhone is consistent. It's very consistent. It'll give you exactly, like, it'll photocopy the scene that you're looking at with your own eyes. Basically just copying, it'll try to copy the lighting situation, the colors, the white balance, all of those things. It'll copy and then just give you an image that looks exactly like that, like 99%. The S20 Plus, it'll do none of that. It'll enhance your image, and because of the fact that it enhances images at times, the images from the S20 Plus could look kinda natural with more vibrance and more saturation, more contrast. All of those things could be altered, but it's not always for the bad, because at times I have seen it happen that the iPhone, being too realistic, doesn't exactly handle dynamic range that well. It's like it doesn't want to handle dynamic range amazingly well. It can, but it won't. The S20 Plus, seeing that it doesn't care much about realism as such, it can sometimes activate its super high dynamic range and, you know, control all of the highlights in the scene, and then like increase the shadows to make everything look super nice and just make the image pop. And so that is like the point where you have to decide, what do you need? Do you want a phone that's gonna give you enhanced images, wherein you know you're gonna get amazing dynamic range almost every single time? Or do you want a phone that gives you the most natural looking images? Like, you are gonna get exactly what you're looking at. And that's how you're gonna have to decide in terms of photography. Now, of course, when we go to night mode, things change a little bit. I do think that with the ultra wide camera, it's like the Achilles heel of the iPhone, and they have to kind of improve it. Apple really needs to up their game with ultra wide night mode in particular, because in broad daylight and in indoor situations where deep fusion works best, the ultra wide camera is incredible, to say the least. It's just as good as the S20 Plus, and I don't think you're gonna have any problems in those two situations. But at night, when you're using night mode with the ultra wide camera on the iPhone, it's not as good. It's definitely not as good as Samsung's offering, because as a matter of fact, Samsung has one of the, if not the best ultra wide night modes that I've seen on any smartphone. And Apple having a weaker ultra wide, it really just makes me want to choose the S20 Plus over the iPhone. Also, you can use zoom on your night mode images, and since the iPhone doesn't even have zoom, it's pointless. But the S20 Plus does have zoom, and it's not optical, but it uses a much higher resolution 64 megapixel sensor to crop in, and so you're gonna get incredible images in night even when zoomed in. Even in daylight, you can zoom in a lot better on the S20 Plus as compared to the iPhone. So versatility is another thing that the S20 Plus is taking a win at. A lot of wins for the S20 Plus, but yeah, I do think that when it comes to video, the quality that the iPhone delivers, it is going to be a little bit better as compared to the S20 Plus, we all know that. But it's not that much of a big difference. You can check out my comparisons there. I was kind of surprised to see that the iPhone and S20 Plus's overall video quality weren't that different. The iPhone was better, like, certain situations, if you pause and you look very close, you have to pixel peep, and pixel peeping in a video is hard, let me tell you. But nonetheless, I do think the iPhone will give you slightly better quality, and it'll give you a much more flatter look if that's something you really want. But nonetheless, the iPhone is not that much better in video as compared to the S20 Plus. So compared to all of the other wins that the S20 Plus had over the iPhone in terms of photography, wherein sometimes it'll give you better dynamic range, sometimes it'll give you much better night mode photos, especially in ultra wide, and finally the versatility on the S20 Plus being better, it seems like another win for the S20 Plus. Now, obviously, that could quite easily lead me to say that the S20 Plus is the way to go. Everybody go buy that phone and just don't look back. But there is a major price difference between these two. In terms of US pricing, the S20 Plus launched at $1,200. Very expensive, obviously. It's a flagship, so yeah, understandable to some extent. But anyways, the iPhone 12 that I have here, it's $800. So like value wise, the iPhone is almost edging out, and it's like the differences that you can see other than the display, every other difference almost feels minor compared to the price tag in US. And there's a reason why I'm stating that, but in US, in terms of launch prices, the iPhone is the more valuable option as such. And of course, you could get the S20 Plus for a much lower price tag, and you could, reduce the gap in price quite a bit. But in India, where I live, in India, the iPhone 12 and S20 Plus came in at the exact same price. And I don't know why that happened, because I can think of two reasons. Well, one reason, the other one I don't exactly know, but yeah. Firstly, the S20 Plus in India, having Exynos 990, does not have 5G, so the price was cut down quite a bit. And secondly, iPhones in India, for some weird reason, they cost more. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know. So in India, and in every other region or place, I don't really know where else this problem in pricing is, but in all those places, it's fairly obvious to me that the S20 Plus, being the same price, it exhibits so much more value compared to the iPhone. It's an obvious choice. So if in case, even with the Exynos 990, I would say that the overall device as such is going to be better for the S20 Plus as compared to the iPhone. But if you're living in somewhere like US where the prices aren't unbelievably weird, then the iPhone is kind of the way to go because of the better value. You will be missing out on the display, and if you care about the display, then sorry, you're not getting that on the iPhone. You will be getting a much slower display. Now, I didn't talk about the software simply because I don't think I have to. If you want iOS, you know what iOS has. It's a very restricted OS with usually better animations, more smoothness as such, and you cannot customize anything yet. Versus you can customize everything when it comes to Samsung's One UI. And I also really like the one-handed mode that they've built in. It's very occasional that I actually get to use it, but when I do, it feels amazing. And so I do like the UI on the S20 Plus a little bit more because I'm always about customization, and Samsung has some of the best customizations in the game. And so the differences between these two have been mentioned, and depending on what you require, you can choose. You know which phone has the pros and the cons when it comes to both of these, and just go for whichever one you want. For me, personally, just my preference alone, this doesn't have to impact you, but if you want to know, then I would be going for the S20 Plus because better customization. I just like the UI, and we also have other things like the display, which is my number one reason I'm going for the S20 Plus. But that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.